am the Viking!
Viking power! Huh! Hello and welcome back to the Fox Strength Performance YouTube channel. I am Taylor Fox, and today we're talking about the rep landmine attachment. So I think this is a great landmine attachment. It works really well with the PR5000 that we have here in the garage. I've been able to use it for a lot of different things. I'm going to show a few of them in this video today. But overall, really solid, good pivoting. The bar inserts well. You always have like the issue of like the bar slipping out of the landmine if you're doing like different explosive work or just something that involves a lot of like movement. You're gonna get the same here, but I feel like it has a little bit more resistance with the powder coating on this anchor for the bar. So I definitely love that. It's easy to adjust. You just have to get the right Allen key out, loosen it here. It generally stays pretty tight. I have had times where this will slide and start to come off, so you just check it if you're doing a lot of heavy work or volume to the point it's going to keep getting pushed on and pop off. It shouldn't really pop off completely, but it will loosen over time throughout your sets, and then you just kind of have to go back and retighten it. The one feedback I will give the rep, it would be nice to have like an adjustable spacer here. So I just have like an old wrist strap. It's actually an elbow wrap for like lateral elbow pain, benching and squatting. So I just threw it on here because I was finding that I would get it sliding in and out when I was trying to do the different exercises, and I really needed to stay put. So I'll pin it to this and then tighten this down to the other end so that it kind of stays right in place. Now there may be something where you want it to kind of like shift a little bit. Maybe you're doing landmine anti-rotation and you want more of that instability. That would make sense. But considering that I'm doing Viking press for it, I'm doing heavier exercises, putting on a lot of weight, I don't really want it to wobble around like that. So that was the one thing where I was just like, recognized that right away and knew that it needed some kind of addition like this. So I did that and it worked perfectly. But other than that, it's a great piece of equipment that they, make in addition to the rack so that you can, buy everything in one place. You're not looking for a landmine attachment that fits the power rack that you got from this company, from another company, like going around and trying to piece everything together. They also have the smaller insert if you have a skinny bar and you want to use it for that. I never have, but it's definitely a good option for people so that you're not trying to, buy different things. You get all in one piece, gives you versatility for your training. So we're going to get into some exercises with this and have some fun. So let's get after it. So if you've ever tried some kooky makeshift setup where you put a bunch of weight on one side, you act as a counterbalance, and then you got even more weight on the other side, and you feel like you can calculate out what that load lift is going to be overall heading into a competition where you say you have a 300-pound Viking press. If you actually think you know what you're lifting, but you haven't calculated out weight lifted on one side versus the counterbalance with the lever arm included, then that's a straight up lie. You have no idea. This really allows you to actually know what you're lifting because you just have it anchored on the one side, and I really try to create it to where it's straight across. So I'll set up the landmine slightly higher than the safety arm is going to be. So that's going to be at a 21 if we're counting numbers that's below the hole. And then this safety arm is at a 19. Now that's not straight across obviously, but when I pick it off the rack, now I'm directly at shoulder height and the bar's parallel. So I'm really getting that full weight in hand for this Viking press setup. You can buy the attachments and whatever, those work well sometimes. Usually like Rep, I think, has a good one. Rogue, kind of like a T-bar looking thing. But I'll generally find you're not going to get that rigidity all the time with a Viking press in competition, depending on the setup that the promoter has. So that's why I really like the back widow because it does have some give and you're like, oh, is this smart to like really be lifting with it like this? But you'll get to a competition and you get the pick and you're like, this isn't as stable as I thought it was going to be. It's a little more wobbly. And at that point, like this training really comes into play and is a benefit because it's not super rigid. It does have some give in it. And I think that really helps to simulate the training effect for competition. So if we come in closer to check this out, we're going to put one collar on like this and kind of tighten it a little ways in on the bar. We're going to take the back widow, anchor that on here. And then I like to use this rogue collar, then get it so this is facing down so it doesn't interfere with the motion of the back widow, and it never like catches on it while you're pressing the weight up. All right, so now I'm gonna do my first warm-up set. Got 90 pounds on there. I do factor in that there is some weight from the bar, but really I'm looking at the weight I've added. This shouldn't be too bad. So the pain is every single time I want to adjust the weight, I gotta take so many things off. So I have two collars to stabilize the back widow, and then I have a third collar for the weight. And then get in here and throw another 45 on. Whew. And just so we're clear, I haven't done any real barbell pressing in weeks. And then I also took a bunch of pre-workouts, and now I got the beta-alanine tingles. I haven't really been pressing like this, and I'm just like, But this is fun. I like Viking Press. So we're getting back into the Strongman stuff. So an application I really like here is I got the band peg there, and we're gonna have this anchor point right there on the back widow. So I'm gonna hook a band on the band peg, and I kind of got it in a reverse position so that it doesn't pull the band peg out because it's kind of a weird angle pull, and then just hook it on there. So now you got band resisted Viking press. You don't have to add as much weight, right? And the reason for doing the pause dips is just I'm still kind of working through the patellar tendonitis. It's gotten better, having not trained a ton of strongman stuff and nothing super heavy, but that quick dip and drive is really what will bother me. So just dipping down, pause, and then press up. I know this is what I did last time. I set this up with this weight in the band for triples. So I think 6 pause is pretty good. So now we're going to break this down. But that's my Viking press setup. So if you have any interest in it, want to leave a comment, If questions, let me know. But back widow from the last video. And then we got PR 5000, standard plates from Rep, and of course the Rep Landmine, which we're now going to switch over to some more traditional landmine press. If I can stop kicking things around. So this is how easy this is. Just loosen it real quick. And I'll attach it here because I think that should be enough so the bar isn't too far out, but also gives me a good amount of pivot space because I'm going to do some rotations. And that's just what it's like in a cramped garage, right? So I used an axle with the Viking press because I didn't really want the spin, but I actually do with this exercise or these 3 exercises. So that's why I'm using the barbell. So we got the barbell set up with the landmine attachment. Now, I will prescribe these exercises typically in an off season or a transition period. I try to really have clients understand that this is not to build maximal strength. You doing a single leg kneeling, one arm landmine press with a barbell and then a row and an anti-rotation is not going to build your maximal strength, but you need to mix things up. It's the said principle, specific adaptation to opposed demands. We need to differ the movements that we're doing at times. And also doing unilateral work avoids weaknesses from one side to the next. You're stimulating the core in a little bit of a different way, which can definitely benefit you in the long run. So just doing a normal barbell press, log press, axle all the time, push pressing from a standing position constantly 52 weeks out of the year is going to burn you out at some point. It leads to overuse. So we just try to switch it up a little bit with these kind of exercises and understand what we're trying to accomplish with them. So I find it best to have the barbell kind of offset to my side, otherwise it's kind of jamming into my leg straight ahead, because this is going to be the best position to get the bar directly over the shoulder. So I wanted a good front rack position, elbow forward, and then pressing straight over the shoulder. And you can do this handoff, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then get up and go immediately into single arm row. So I'm going to grip right at the end of the bar, a little bit behind the collar, driving that elbow. And then the last one is going to be the anti-rotation. So I want to emphasize anti-rotation because I would see a lot of people when I first started doing this move in high school, or people I knew in high school that were athletes preparing for college strength conditioning programs. Oftentimes we're looking to just engage that bracing of the core, multifidus, transverse abdominis, really building up those obliques. We're actually trying to make sure the weight doesn't rotate us as we go side to side. And that's going to be really important for sports like lacrosse, field hockey, ice hockey. But I do see a little bit of a rotary component in strongman. You want to be able to turn efficiently with implements. You want to be able to make sure you can get set up properly. Like Conan's wheel, you're trying to kind of anchor into that implement, but then also keep your body moving forward while you stabilize it. so it stays up and kind of like locked in. So we'll put one hand over top of the other. The wider the stance you take, obviously that's going to make it easier. So I kind of just go moderate here. Drop to one side. Keep that core braced. And to the other. So keeping with the theme of adding commentating resistance today, I'm going to add a chain to this for the final set. Adds the weight in a little bit of a different way. Obviously, with the Viking Press, the band is band tension, but this is 20 pounds of extra weight, but just going to be like kind of dangling around. I think for the press, it's going to be all the way off the floor, so it adds that additional instability component that we're looking for with this movement anyway. And I'm not going to use the chain for the anti-rotation. Black bumper plates from Rep Fitness, very nice. They hold up really well, so I'm going to throw that on for the next one. So this last one I've incorporated a little bit. Again, another specialty exercise I wouldn't use in my training very often during the year, but it changes things up a little bit. Look, we're getting into these events with Strongman, the wrecking ball hold, the Ukrainian deadlift. Yes, everybody thinks sumo is stupid and Strongman Everybody's kind of like back and forth about it in powerlifting. If I was taking a brand new lifter, really hadn't trained a lot before, I would get them going on sumo deadlift with the kettlebell, goblet squats, transition to front squats, and sumo deadlifts with a barbell before going over to back squats and then conventional deadlift. It's very tough to take a strongman competitor and have them do that because it's like, what? I'm never going to use this. Like, we don't sumo deadlift. Why would I be training that? But then when we have the Ukrainian deadlift coming up, something like the wrecking ball hold, we might want to use something like this. Then it becomes more applicable. And it's something people need to kind of wrap their head around incorporating, because then you have these events and it's like you want to do well, obviously, and it has more specificity to that particular movement than a normal conventional deadlift that you've been training probably most weeks out of the year. So this is going to be a straddle deadlift, landmine straddle deadlift with the back widow. I actually used to like put the handles out the normal setting. I didn't even think about like I can fold them in so it doesn't run into your quads, because I used to just do it as partial movement, like 3/4 of the way up, but this allows me to lock it out completely. So let's get into that a little bit. So I'm really trying to get as close to the plate as I can. I want to make sure my arms fit down between my knees. So I do end up having to force the lockout a little bit, but doing this 3/4 motion can be really beneficial too. So coming up to just here, keeping that tension on the glutes and back down. And I'll even do pauses above the floor or pauses at lockout with hold. So that's going to have carryover to the wrecking ball hold. And down here to the Ukrainian deadlift. And it's just a good movement to change things up, get some different glute stimulus, take some stress off your back, not in that so much of a hinge dominant pattern anymore, which you'll have with the conventional deadlift. So that is all I have for today. Just running through some stuff that I use to apply the landmine to, that I find useful to incorporate to training throughout the year. You definitely want to look at training as a yearly cycle, have a yearly plan in place of your competitions and when your off seasons are, and trying to recoup from things and all the stress that you're building up. So hopefully you can use some of that, take what you will. I hope you find it helpful. I hope it benefits you in your own training, and we'll have more to come. But until next time, keep lifting those heavy weights. Hold strong.